We are heading down under this summer to Australia and New Zealand for the 9th Women's World Cup and the first ever co-hosted Women's World Cup. Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Cailey Thalman alongside Anna Licastro and Amanda Vogt, and we're here to preview the long-awaited 2023 Women's World Cup. 32 teams will face off for the most coveted title in women's soccer other than the gold medal in the Olympics. The USA was crowned champion in 2019 in Paris, beating the Netherlands in the final. Let's see if they will do it again this year. So the U.S. is no stranger to the Women's World Cup. They have won 4 of the 8 total Women's World Cups. They are so incredibly dominant every year. Obviously, they won 2 in a row in 2015 and 2019 as well. However, they are putting forth a very different team this World Cup, and that's been talked about a lot on the news. Anna, what are your opinions on how this younger core will prove themselves on the field?
Well, Cailey, to your point about a younger core, I think I speak for all soccer fans when I say it is really hard to say goodbye to the core that we know and love, especially for girls who grew up playing and watching soccer, because those players were our idols. However, that being said, this new team, quote unquote, got an unreasonable amount of hate during their last season. They came out with their first Jurassic lineup shift at the beginning of 2022. They did poorly in a few games. And all of a sudden, according to the world, the U.S. women's national team is ruined, which logically is completely unreasonable because anybody knows that if you have a new team, especially with a lot of young players, it takes a period of time for them to adjust to playing with one another. They had that trial period during their 2022 season. They've collected themselves, and now they've done quite well in their 2023 season. And then I'd also like to mention that even though we have a lot of the OGs like Carly Lloyd, Megan Rapinoe retiring or preparing to retire, I feel almost like there's kind of a new core of vets because we have players like Mallory Swanson, Lindsey Horan, Rose Lavelle, who people have been seeing play for many years. They've played alongside the OGs, and people are comfortable with them. So I think that experience combined with all the new young talent on this U.S. women's national team is going to set them up for a lot of success.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and going off your point there, they are younger stars, they are younger leaders, but they have the backbone of World Cup experience. They've played, they've won, they've experienced the highs and the lows of transition, and just how much a team can change in 4 years is incredible. They went through a whole coaching staff reboot. They went through games where they lost that the headlines were kind of just putting them so far down, and they were able to climb back up. They're just coming off a She Believes Cup win against a bunch of top teams that are in the tournament, playing against friendlies leading up to this. They'll have their send-off series. And just like how these players play against one another as teammates and as competitors in the National Women's Soccer League just elevates the competition even more because you see them face off week to week against one another. And it might be a younger core, and Mallory Swanson just got very injured, hurting her knee. She's out for the rest of the year. That's a goal scorer who's been on fire in these recent friendlies. But the backbone of players like Alex Morgan, Julie Ertz, and Becky Sauerbrunn, that's 3 people on every part of the field that can elevate the next level of these stars, and we're going to see a breakout player regardless in the tournament.
You mentioned it, and of course, tough loss with Mallory there. She's been so dominant up front. But I've kind of said coming into this World Cup, the U.S. has the best of both worlds right now. They have the experience coming from that veteran background with Alex Morgan, with Megan Rapinoe, even though she probably won't be starting. And then they also have the fitness, the fight from the younger core. And I think that's going to prove really well for them coming into this tournament. As we mentioned, the U.S. is no stranger to the tournament, but 8 teams playing in this tournament are a stranger to the tournament as it's been expanded from 24 teams to 32 teams this year. How are those teams going to compete with the experience, Amanda?
Well, just talking about women's soccer as a whole, when the World Cup started in 1991, there was only 12 teams. And now we have 32, 64 matches that are going to be played in Australia and New Zealand, 2 host cities. Are you kidding me? This is great for the game. But these 8 teams that are going to be joining the field, they don't have the factor of experience. And especially in tournament play, especially when you have teams as strong as the U.S., as strong as England, it's going to be hard to combat that. But if I'm if I'm a team that has never been to the World Cup, you probably have played some of these teams in other friendlies, probably suffered the taste of defeat. But you have to play your own game. You have to come in with your strategy. And if you play knowing that the U.S. has a strong attack, if you spend too much of your time focusing on it, a team like the U.S. has too much talent that they're going to be able to exploit that and find a way to strategically work around you regardless. So if they stick to their own game plan, regardless, it's an experience to help them build future teams down the line, learn from mistakes, and continue to grow. But just the fact that they were able to get 8 more is such a huge deal for women's soccer globally.
Amanda, I completely agree. And I just want to reemphasize how exciting it is that the sport of women's soccer is getting so much bigger in all these new countries across the world. And for these new teams like Haiti, Morocco, the Philippines, everybody up here on this board, no matter how they do in this upcoming World Cup, the chance to play on the world stage is just such an exciting opportunity for them. That being said, if they want to be able to compete against all the teams that have done this before, organization is key. Organization has been the downfall of so many newer teams because you can have all the talent in the world in your individual players, but if they're not able to work off of one another and actually play together as a team, you're going to fall apart. And then another thing to be prepared for when coming into such a big tournament is media attention that they are not used to, both good and bad. I think those are 2 of the most important things to be prepared for.
You mentioned organization. I think that is absolutely key. And from a coaching standpoint, managing your bench, the World Cup is some of the most sustained playing these players are going to see in their career. It's tough to get through that, and younger players need to learn to not burn out as quickly. And then also the media attention. This is a huge pressure cooker for these players. This is the most watched they're going to be in their careers just because that is where women's sports is right now. This is the stage. This is the stage that they need to perform on. So I think seeing how these teams will do under pressure is important. And that brings us to predictions. Anna, who is winning this 2023 Women's World Cup?
Okay, I would like to preface my prediction by saying that this is completely free of bias and or favoritism. I am taking the United States of America because logically they have a trifecta of big competitors. There's England, there's France, and there's Germany. France, as Amanda put it best when we were talking before the show, is in shambles, unfortunately. 3 of their star players have already come out and said they are not participating in this 2023 World Cup. Their coach was fired in the beginning of March, all due to internal problems between the team and the French Football Federation. So France is down, thank you next. England, Leah Williamson is injured, thank you next. Germany, they're looking good. I will give them that. The U.S. both lost to them and then beat them over the course of like 3 days in 2 friendlies at the end of their 2022 season. However, seeing how much the U.S. national team has grown over the course of 2023, I think it's going to be a lot easier for them to handle Germany this time around.
Yeah, in the past year, the U.S. has just taken a big leap, which is also why I will be picking the U.S. as well. I agree with basically every point you've made, but there are a bunch of teams that could give them issues. You talk about England, they won the 2022 Women's Euro Championship, but they did lose Leah Williamson to a ruptured ACL in a club match with Arsenal against Manchester United. So that's a huge blow to them, but their roster is so talented that they weren't even, I don't think, the favorites to win the Euro. And so the fact that they took their entire country by storm and were able to come out with that win, it made headlines around the women's soccer world. So they're going to be a tough competitor. I think that the Netherlands, who is in the group with the U.S., is going to be their biggest group stage match. They've always had a tough fight against them. That's who they beat in 2019 to even hold up that trophy. But that will be their toughest test. Australia, the host country, with Sam Kerr, who is lethal in the box, especially on a set piece. So fun to watch when she can get her head on the ball. They're going to have a really strong run, I believe. Their toughest matchup will be against Canada, who won the Olympic gold medal. But they don't have a great World Cup history. But because of the momentum that the U.S. will ride, and because of how, if you watch the NWSL, every single one of these players that will have a roster spot has been putting up highlight reels every week. So if you just see the talent of they get just playing one another, once you put them combined, that's what makes this team so special every time they go to compete, and that's why they're always listed so high. Even if they do go through some lows, there's always going to be another high peak that's even higher than the last time.
Absolutely. Shocker. I'm going to agree with you. I think the combination of the veteran background and the younger core is just going to produce an amazing team this World Cup. Another thing that I think should be mentioned is the USA crowd travels phenomenally no matter where the game is. there are USA fans in attendance, so I think that will be huge towards their success in the tournament this year. We'll have to wait until July and August to see how the 9th Women's World Cup plays out. Will another country dethrone the seemingly unbeatable USA? Only time will tell. Thanks for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Amanda Vogt and Anna Licastro, I'm Cailey Thalman. Have a great night.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you are going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.